And a lot of people are just now tuning in. Hey, welcome to the show. Hit the like button and please hit that subscribe button if you appreciate the content that you're seeing from this channel. I would really appreciate your support. All right, let's watch just a few minutes of this where he's before Congress and he's making some pretty incredible statements here. Again, intelligence officer from the Pentagon. I mean, this is just wild stuff.
I will now recognize Mr. Elizondo for his opening statement.
Greetings, Chairwoman Mace, Chairman Grothman, Ranking Members Connolly and Garcia, and members of the committee. It is my honor and privilege to testify before you on the issue of unidentified anomalous phenomenon, formerly known as UFOs. On behalf of our brave men and women in uniform and across the intelligence community, as well as my fellow Americans who have awaited this day, thank you for your leadership on this important matter. Let me be clear, UAP are real. Advanced technologies not made by our government or any other government are monitoring sensitive military installations around the globe. Furthermore, the U.S. is in possession of UAP technologies, as are some of our adversaries. I believe we are in the midst of a multi-decade secretive arms race, one funded by misallocated taxpayer dollars and hidden from our elected representatives and oversight bodies. For many years, I was entrusted with protecting some of our nation's most sensitive programs. In my last position, I managed a special access program on behalf of the White House and the National Security Council. As such, I appreciate the need to protect certain sensitive intelligence and military information. I consider my oath to protect secrets as sacred, and I will always put the safety of the American people first. With that said, I also understand the consequences of excessive secrecy and stovepiping. Nowhere was this more apparent than in the aftermath of 9/11, which many of us remember all too well. I believe that America's greatness depends on three elements. A watchful Congress, B, a responsive executive branch, and C, an informed public. Over the last decade and a half, I learned that certain UAP programs were and are operating without any of these elements. Although much of my government work on the UAP subject still remains classified, excessive secrecy has led to grave misdeeds against loyal civil servants, military personnel, and the public, all to hide the fact that we are not alone in the cosmos. A small cadre within our own government involved in the UAP topic has created a culture of suppression and intimidation that I've personally been victim to, along with many of my former colleagues. This includes unwarranted criminal investigations, harassment, and efforts to destroy one's credibility. Most Americans would be shocked to learn that the Pentagon's very own Public Affairs Office openly employs a professional psychological operations officer as the singular point of contact for any UAP-related inquiries from citizens and the media. This is unacceptable. Many of my former colleagues and I have provided classified testimony to both the Department of Defense and the Intelligence Community Inspector General, and many of us have subsequently been targeted by this cabal with threats to our careers, our security clearances, and even our lives. This is not hyperbole, but a genuine fact, and this is wrong. To fix these problems, I propose three principal actions. First, Congress and the President should create a single point of contact responsible for a whole-of-government approach to the UAP issue. Currently, the White House, CIA, NASA, the Pentagon, Department of Energy, and others play a role, but no one seems to be in charge, leading to unchecked power and corruption. Second, we need a national UAP strategy that will promote transparency and help restore the American public's trust at a time when the public's trust is at an all-time low. This strategy should include a whole-of-government approach, including the academic and scientific communities, the private sector, and our international partners and allies. Third, Congress should create a protected environment so whistleblowers desperate to do the right thing can come forward without fear. As it currently stands, these whistleblowers suffer because of stigma, a code of silence, and concerns about retaliation. These whistleblowers should be encouraged to come forward in ways that protect them against any forms of retaliation. Policies and procedures should ensure that protection, and for those who refuse to cooperate, it is up to the members of this committee and the other lawmakers to wield their subpoena power against hostile witnesses and prevent additional government funding to those UAP efforts that remain hidden from congressional oversight. In closing, we as Americans have never been afraid of a challenge. In fact, we thrive on them, whether it's eradicating polio or going to the moon. We don't run from a challenge, we take it head on. To the incoming administration and Congress, I say to you, we need immediate public transparency, and this hearing is an important step on that journey. If we approach the UAP topic in the same way as we as Americans have met other challenges, we can restore our faith in our government institutions. Together, we can usher in a new era of accountable government and scientific discovery. I believe that we as Americans can handle the truth, and I also believe the world deserves the truth. Thank you, esteemed members of Congress, for your time today. It is profoundly appreciated by many.
Well, I mean, and there's more. There's a lot more to that hearing, and we're going to see just a few clips here in a moment. Some pretty amazing stuff. But yeah, I mean, really well placed intelligence officer Luis Elizondo comes out and basically says, yeah, this is part of disclosure, and he thinks that the American people need to be told the truth. We're ready. There's no point in hiding this anymore. Is this related to what's going on with the Jersey drones? I don't know. It's interesting that we started to see the drones right around the time or right after that congressional hearing. Seems like there might be some kind of relation in one way or another, either as a distraction from that congressional hearing or as tied into it. Don't know. There's a lot of questions that still remain here. And I see a lot of people in the chat. Some are saying this is the Anunnaki that ties into the Nephilim theory coming from Genesis chapter 6. Well, look, I'm a theologian by trade. I've read the Bible over 10 times cover to cover. I'm a professor of theology. This is my wheelhouse. And I'll certainly do some videos soon on the question of the Nephilim thesis. So stay tuned for that. I also saw somebody mentioning the rapture in the chat. Just FYI on the point of the rapture. Nowhere in scripture in the Bible does it teach a concept of a rapture. There are a few passages that have been taken out of context to say that this is in reference to a rapture, but if you look contextually, there is no such thing, which is why that doctrine really came about as late as the 19th century. It's a pretty recent innovation, and so no, I don't think any of this has anything to do with a rapture, but much more on that. Perhaps we'll do a whole separate stream on the question of the rapture and if that ties into what's going on today. All right, so let's actually see a little bit more from that hearing where he's being cross-examined. Watch this part. This is absolutely wild.
When it comes to Blue Force Technologies, I would not be able to discuss.
Okay. Are you read into secret UAP crash retrieval programs?
We would have to have a conversation in a closed session, ma'am. I signed documentation 3 years ago that restricts my ability to discuss specifically crash retrievals. I submitted for my book through the DOPSR process, which took a year for it to be reviewed. And what is in the book is what I was told I'm allowed to talk about.
Has the government conducted secret UAP crash retrieval programs? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Were they designed to identify and reverse engineer alien craft? Yes or no?
Yes.
Does the U.S. government have any reverse? Okay, we already answered that question about retrieval programs. Do any U.S. contractors have the same?
I would prefer to address that in a closed session, ma'am.
Okay. In your book, you mentioned government employees who've been injured by UAPs, placed on leave, and receiving government compensation for their injuries. Is that correct?
That is correct.
How can the government deny we have recovered craft if they're paying people because they've been injured by recovered craft?
Ma'am, that's a great question. That's why I think we're here again, because I've seen the documentation by the U.S. government for several of these individuals who have sustained injuries as a result of a UAP incident.
It's a crazy idea, right? The hypocrisy and the logic. Okay.
Wow. So this is wild stuff. And a lot of people slept on this and didn't say a word about it when it happened just a few weeks ago. This is incredible stuff. And so maybe we'll do a whole nother stream where we go through that entire hearing. I think that would be productive. This is fascinating. I think it might provide some answers, some solutions to what's going on. Potentially. I don't know for sure, which is interesting because we have a person in the comment section saying, Michael, you're smart, but you're making good money over this. You don't want to find out. Not good business for you, but the answer is right in front of you. I do want to know the truth. But I'm very, very analytical, and I think critically, and I don't just immediately assume something. I need evidence. And so that's why I haven't come to any particular conclusion just yet. But that actually doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Wouldn't I make a ton of money if I did have the answer? I would think so. If I had the answer right now to what's going on with the Jersey drones, I think I would make a lot of money because I would disseminate that information right here on this channel. So yeah, I don't think that was a very coherent comment, but I appreciate the comment. Everybody hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. If you're just now tuning in, I would greatly appreciate your support. I want to actually look at something else that was brought to my attention from a few years ago. It may tie into this, may not. It might be junk. It might be gold. I don't know because, again, I don't have the answer. And I don't know if a whole lot of people right now do have definitive answers as to what's going on. I think that there are some people who know for sure, obviously, but most people, we're all just trying to figure out what's going on. Hey, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the content. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the like button, and if you want to support the channel, visit patreon.com/Reason and Theology.